exactly. What is the likely implications on our bilateral relations, and what are the protocols for doing this, and are we in breach actually of any of these? In the studio this morning, I have Irbard Ibrahim, who is an international relations and security analyst in the studio. He will help us understand a few of some of these things that we're talking about. You're welcome, Irbard.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Great. And what do you make, first of all, of these statements from the United States Embassy in Ghana?
I think the sense I get from the streets of Accra is that such a move by the U.S. is a canary in a coal mine. It has the potential of imperiling the relations we have with the United States of America. But if you take your time and read between the lines, you realize that this is benign. It is harmless to our bilateral relations. And if I have a house and you promise to visit me for 1 hour, and I make preparations for only 1 hour to get you snacks, I don't expect you to overstay your welcome by doing 24 hours. So I need to give you 3 square meals and whatever additional services I should give you. And the U.S. as a sovereign country reserves the right to determine who comes in and who goes out. And Ghana also reserves that right. We repatriate people. And during my days working with the embassy, there were times, nationals of the foreign government for whose interest I was working would come, and then we would go to the Kodoka International Airport and prepare them for repatriation, because Ghana reserves the right to determine who comes in and who goes out.
Just as any nation does.
Yes.
And so, in simple terms, as you put it, that is right.
Yeah, but I don't fault the United States. And if you look at the foreign policy direction of the Trump administration, it is, pursuing a protectionist and an isolationist foreign policy direction. Trump is picking up fights with everybody because he believes America first. Long-time allies like Canada, countries in the European Union have all had issues with the United States of America because this president in the White House believes that the U.S. cannot continue to be the Father Christmas and policeman of the world. So therefore, he would rather put the priority on the welfare of the American people. And I don't fault him and his administration for taking such a foreign policy stance.
Okay, of course. But then, let's look at the protocols that are involved in deportations. What are the protocols?
The Vienna Convention on International Relations and International Diplomacy sets the tone for how Nation A should interact with Nation B. You can go into a country, you will be welcomed as a tourist, as a visitor, someone visiting with family and friends. But then there are limits to how long you can stay. There are extreme circumstances during which you are forced out. So you can say deportation, but there are 2 types. One could be extradition, and the other could be repatriation. So when you break immigration laws, you are repatriated. You've not committed any crime against the country to which you've traveled, but then you've broken visa rules or you've broken basic rules, and the jurisdiction holds in high esteem. But when we talk about extradition, you are put on an airplane and taken somewhere, but as a result of a transnational crime, like smuggling of contraband, like cocaine and other forms of terrorism. And then when you commit, acts of atrocities in another country. So therefore, the rules are quite clear. Many of the people who have left Ghana to the U.S. are illegal. They are undocumented. I remember when I was in Los Angeles, a Nigerian walked up to me and said I should help him. I said, how? He said he didn't have a job and he didn't have anywhere to stay. And for all you know, his relatives in Nigeria all along have been thinking that he's living well in the U.S. So many people go gate crashing And America reserves the right to repatriate all the 7,000 that are undocumented. And again, we had cause to complain about how a few of our citizens were brought back in 2016, and a few months ago, they were handcuffed.
Yes.
So for you to avoid that, don't give the U.S. The difficulty of having to decide how to repatriate your people. Make sure you make a commitment, and the Foreign Affairs Ministry has got an intelligence department called the RD, the research department. The earnest lies upon it to make sure it can flash out people that are undocumented, and Ghana would foot the bill for their repatriation so that it is done in a dignified way.
So they are demanding that Ghana, the embassy actually, provides some documentation, that is ICAO obligations that we should meet for them to be able to bring them back to Ghana on a commercial flight.
Look,
what does this mean, and what is this that they're asking of Ghana?
The threshold of international aviation law is that you should have valid documents on which you travel. Then someone went for a visa maybe 15 years ago, went for a passport from the passport office here in Accra 15 years ago. And you know that you need to report yourself to the consulate or the embassy wherever you go. But in the first place, the guy is in Johannesburg as an illegal migrant. So we don't really have documentation about people that are living in other countries. And you remember when the Libyan crisis broke, while other nationals had a firm handle on the number of, people, countries had a firm handle on the number of citizens they had in Libya, and they were evacuating them, Ghana was caught in a catch-22 situation. So therefore, yes, the first thing to do when you travel to another country is go to a consulate so that the Foreign Affairs Ministry can document that such an individual has come to that country. And when you even face challenges, your first point of call should be a diplomatic mission in whatever country you find yourself. So that the U.S. is breaking no rules whatsoever.
In demanding that
it reserves the right to determine who overstays and who doesn't. And sometimes you are given the option of overstaying by 3 weeks, but you need to have a sponsor, somebody who foots them. Every nation would want, capital to trickle into it. And so therefore you are coming in, you are not well educated, you don't add up anything to the American economy. That is why the Trump administration is making a radical move to even stop the visa lottery, which provides an opportunity for the U.S. to not handpick, arbitrarily pick lucky people to come there. He believes that there should be quality people that would come to contribute to the United States. So therefore, if you are not wanted in the U.S. because you are undocumented, I believe you could as well start making preparations to come back home.
Earlier you said that the mode or the way in which some of these people are deported is not good. It's not the best. They are handcuffed. We've heard about these in recent times. Can't we also have a case against these forms of repatriation of our citizens?
Yes, we can raise concerns.
We can only raise concerns.
Yes, we can. You can't press charges. You can't go to the ICC and press charges, or an international tribunal to press charges. In the first place, your nationals have gate crashed into the United States. So all we can do is raise concerns about human rights violations. In fact, if you are to cram a person into a van and take them through a ride in shackles for 30 minutes, that would constitute gross, violation of their human rights. And flights from the U.S. take hours on end. Look at even the discomfort of being at that altitude, let alone being put in shackles. So there are serious concerns, and I believe Ghana's government has used the needed diplomatic channels to raise those concerns with the Americans.
Okay, and we are opening the phone lines again. Hopefully this time our technical issues might have been resolved. 0302-786-571. Please call and let's hear you as we talk about the U.S. visa restrictions that might be slapped on Ghana if we fail to comply with the Americans all about the deportation, about 7,000 Ghanaians who are due for deportation in the United States of America. So let's hear you. 0302-786-571 is the number to call. So are there any human rights that is under threat of these Ghanaian citizens who are due for deportation, these 7,000 people?
There are concerns in broad strokes. Of course, freedom of association, freedom of movement, and normally such repatriations are forced. So you don't have time to even bid farewell to family and friends you are patching with in the US. If you've gathered some property, you don't have the luxury of time to be able to pack up and then come home with some luggage. In fact, it took the benevolence of some people to give money for transport. And I believe Ghana's Foreign Affairs Ministry can do better when people are brought back. It doesn't suffice.
Please hold it. Let's speak Majid from Kintapo. Hello, Majid.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Let's hear you, please.
Hello, I'm online.
Yes, please, let's hear you. You're live.
Okay. So, my concern is, what does the U.S. Embassy do over there? Sorry, Ghanaian Embassy at U.S. What does it do?
In terms of what?
In terms of resolving some of these issues, or maybe how did they handle some of these issues?
I think I answered that question, that the first point of call anytime you arrive in a foreign country is to look for a consulate. The consulate takes care of your consular needs as a national in a foreign land. So go to our nearest embassy or consulate. For very big countries, we separate the embassy from the consulate, but in countries where we don't have a significant presence, you could have both within the same premises. So as soon as you arrive at JFK, as soon as you arrive in Joburg, as soon as you arrive wherever, make sure you look for our diplomatic mission so that you are duly documented, and when you find yourself in any troubles, they can give you the needed assistance.
Okay, so you are answered, Majid. Hello, Daniel.
Hello, this is Janet.
Janet, sorry.
Janet.
Okay.
J-A-N-T.
Yes, Janet, let's hear you, please.
Yeah, okay. Good morning, Harriet.
Good morning.
Yes, okay. What I want to say is the way that our president has been so respectful to Donald Trump, the president of America, in allowing America to come and establish themselves in Ghana here, with even all the shouting, the complaints, etc. Our president allowed it to happen, that America has come to Ghana. They say security, and we are saying no. We are being sold into slavery. You see? So can't he also take this respect that our president gave to him and allow these people to stay there? What are they? Whatever offense they have committed, it should look back on this kindness that our president has shown to him, and also show respect to him. Because if he throws them back or deport them here, it's an abuse to our president.
Okay.
Why? He's being selfish.
Okay. All right, Janet.
Wrong.
Janet, point well made. Thanks very much.
I think there is anti-Trump sentiment around the world, and I believe we are making a frantic effort to right the wrongs. Every president that has the mandate of his people presented a manifesto. He had a message, and the people, embraced the message. So therefore, the U.S. reserves the right. You could have bilateral and multilateral relations, but it's not as organic as your caller is talking about.
Okay. Emilia from Kumasi. Hello, Emilia.
Hello, Madam Marriage.
Hello, Emilia. Let's hear you, please.
Mr. Irbard, in fact, the discussion that is going on, I'm just, should I say I'm annoyed?
You
I'm
can't.
annoyed.
Okay, so
Yes, I'm annoyed.
for what
Because,
reason?
The kind of relationship between the U.S. and then Ghana.
Okay. Yes.
Even if it is whether bilateral or whatsoever we call it, but Donald Trump should understand that we have given him that of a certain place to come and then establish a military base here and other things, so that so because of that he should consider certain things. If that's the case, they should come and take that of their military base and send it back to the U.S. and they should bring our people to us. Why? Sometimes I don't understand.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Emilia. It's as though what I'm getting from the two callers is that we have given so much, and we're talking about bilateral relationships. So if we have been able to give so much to the Americans, why can't they give us or accord us some dignity, some respect? Especially when we're talking about some of the offenses. There's just some people resisted arrest. Some people, the documentations have expired. Some people have done. I mean,
it tells you,
like we haven't heard of a terrorist or any form of those
it tells you institutions.
Offenses.
It tells you institutions in the U.S. are working. It tells you institutions in the U.S. are working.
And institutions in Ghana are not working.
How many times have you jumped the red light and nothing happened? You don't even have an ID card. So therefore, I believe that you can only learn from best practices instead of whining and whinging, so to speak. And the U.S. has given us so much. We have this compact agreement. They built the N1.
Okay. Let's take Bafo from Spintas. Hello, Bafo.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, so this is what I'm saying. When you go to the embassy, yeah,
okay,
they don't give you any tangible reason to why they refuse you. Because recently one of my friends went there, and probably he was going for PhD. So they looked at everything. They asked him every question, and he answered.
Can you speak a bit for me? I'm struggling to hear you. So when you go to the embassy right here in Accra, what happens?
Yeah, he went to the embassy and they gave him no reason. The reason they gave him for refusing him was just he's not eligible for the American visa.
Okay.
That's all they gave him. That's no reason. You know what I'm saying? You should give him some reason, like, oh, this document that you have is fake, so you understand. Because the guy has got admission to a school, so what reason do you have to refuse him?
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So
like, most of them at the embassy are racist. Yeah.
Okay, so that's another thing, another concern, because we're talking now they're saying that if we do not comply with this obligation, we are going to be slapped with restrictions. Already, we are having it difficult to attain access to the American visa. Now we're going to be slapped with restrictions. And he's just telling us an experience. You go there and no clear reason is given you as to why a student gain admission
Harry,
full document is not admitted.
Let's be fair to the Americans.
While we do that, we should also try to understand
if from this interview,
the Ghanaian.
If I become inquisitive enough after this interview to go to GBC's HR and ask, why do you have this load, a pile of applications for jobs at GBC? People have their masters in communications. Somebody may even have a PhD. HR will tell me he or she has been given the right to decide who comes in and who goes out. It doesn't matter. Look, the US can even...
So they can just decide, I don't have any reason.
Ghana can decide a president shouldn't come to Ghana. Some other countries' president shouldn't come to Ghana.
Let's pick Bridget from Sinyang. Hello, Bridget. Bafo. Okay. Bafo from Sinyang.
No, it's not.
Okay. It looks like I got your name wrong.
Yeah.
Let me have your name.
It's not Bafo, it's Ajay Richard.
Richard. All right. Sorry. Richard from Sinyang, let's hear you, please.
Yeah. You see, the problem is that we, the Africans, it's about time we fought for our economic rights.
You see, when you go to countries like Libya and other developed Arab countries, you could see that they don't have the zeal to travel to these American or European countries. So over the years, we have taken our destiny to their hands. And it's like we are always eager to go and seek greener pastures in their country. So if you are able to recover from this economic ills, we won't feel like going there to have our life better.
Okay.
So
right.
If it's like we are always thinking of how these people can better off our life.
Okay.
That is how they will treat us.
Okay, Richard, it's not everybody who is going to the United States, for instance, that is going there to better his life, for instance, in terms of seeking greener pastures. Some have, cases of academic progression. Some have cases of seeking health, good health, going for treatment and all that. There are various reasons why people apply for visas to go to these countries, and not so much based on I'm going to see greener pastures.
Can't we have those? Can't we have those things in Ghana? Is it that what is it preventing us to have those things in Ghana?
It takes time to build. You don't have it currently, so you want to go and seek the knowledge to come and establish.
The same way they also, but they say. That is it.
Okay. Anyway, that's your thoughts. Thanks very much to you, Richard. Richard from Sunyani thinks that if we are economically independent, we will not be so much eager to go out there.
The motive to travel goes beyond economics.
Yeah.
You are a tourist. You want to see the Martin Luther King Memorial. You are a tourist. They are parts of the U.S. Lake Tahoe. A very beautiful place. You would want to go and see there someday. So therefore there are myriad reasons, and the reason Libyans were okay under Gaddafi was that even though he was demonized, he did great in terms of job creation, in terms of accommodation, in terms of good health care and education for his people. So there was no appetite for Libyans to be traveling in droves to the Western Hemisphere.
All right. Someone from Dunka Offenso. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, madam.
Let's hear you, please.
Yeah, I also want to talk about the discussion going on.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, the discussion between Ghana and U.S. visa restriction.
Yes.
Good morning.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, I want to talk about the issue, the discussion you are doing.
Yes, please go ahead and make your point. We are listening.
Okay. The discussion between the visa restriction between Ghana and U.S. U.S. is not making any wrong there.
Okay.
U.S. is not making any wrong in the sense that they have their laws, and we can't go beyond. They can't use sympathy. They can't. The law is a law. Okay. So if they are doing something which is wrong, they can't comply with it. You had a visa and it has expired, and you don't want to come to Ghana. When the immigration gets hold of you, they need to deport you to Ghana, and it's their right. Okay. If Ghana, someone's visa has expired in Ghana, and we don't want to deport the person, it's our own cup of tea. So I don't see nothing wrong with the U.S. embassy.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you too for your contribution, and you can also do same on 0302-786-571. The number is at the base of your screens.
Harry, where I can hold brief for people who are raising concerns is when you have a contract with the embassy that I'm paying this X amount of money for you to give me
a visa,
and you refuse me. And then of course 100% of that can go into clerical charges.
Exactly.
So I would advocate for a refund, if not complete, 50%, 60% refund of visa application fees. But apart from that, the U.S. reserves the right to determine who comes in and who goes out.
All right, they reserve that right. Let's hear from Albert from Dongwa, what he also thinks. Hello, Albert. Hello, Albert.
Good morning.
Good morning. You're live. Let's hear you.
Yeah, I'm Albert. I'm speaking from Mumwa Epankrum.
Oh, sorry. Let's hear you.
Okay. You see, my take is on this issue of Ghanaians thinking that Americans have come and established a military base here, so they are for the Christmas. This doesn't happen anywhere. If you give a place to someone to come and set up a base like that, and right now yourself is saying that for defense, I mean, the lady who spoke earlier, it's an opinion anyway, but for defense and whatever, and for that matter, they consider our president the kindness of the president to allow them to come here.
Okay.
We have our laws, and the way we deal with them. And if you have allowed them to come here, that is our own deal. Okay. But they will not relax their laws for us to go and misbehave over there. You see?
All right.
This country of ours. Look at what we are doing here. Today, for us here, the next day this, the next day that. And a certain, you were telling a certain lady that, or somebody who said that these higher institutions could be established here, and therefore, we could stay here and stay here, so forth and so on. We are 10 years after independence. What have our leaders done? One, Kwame president of the party and so forth and so on. That we came to meet.
Okay. All right.
The leader out of protocol. Hello, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Round up for us.
Who came earlier? They thought they have had a windfall, and so the protocol they keep their girlfriends and families and so forth and so on without paying for them. It's the cost of the party being collapsing, and today we are talking here. And so I wish to state that if Ghana will develop, let's avoid this protocol matter and concentrate on core businesses. I think this is what will help the country, so that the future generation can take their proper role in the system.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks very much to you. Now let's examine the likely implications. Should we not comply with this and the restrictions are imposed?
I think this is saber rattling. This is brinksmanship, diplomatic brinksmanship. And the U.S. is just using this as a trump card. It's a bargaining chip. That do A, if you don't, the consequence will be B. But we are savvy enough to know the consequences. So I believe that we'll iron out our differences. We just need to keep the outreach going, educate people. Why would you use your 10,000 US dollar life savings to give to a middleman just because you're here and there is manna falling from the skies in the US?
Okay.
We need to educate people. Someone was talking about a conducive enabling environment. If you have 10,000 US dollars, which is the equivalent of almost $50,000,
I'll come back to you.
You would rather invest in Ghana.
But let's pick Gordon from Bujuburam. Gordon, good morning. Hello, Gordon.
Good morning. My name is I'm not Gordon. No, it's Kobe. It's not Gordon.
Okay, let's hear you, Kobe. Hello, let's hear you.
Hello. Yeah, good morning, madam, and good morning, Mr. Ibrahim.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning. Go ahead, please.
Okay, let me also contribute to this program. Very nice program that you are doing.
Yeah. Thank you.
In fact, we need to support the president. Ghana being interdependent. I do support what Mr. Ibrahim is saying, or Ghanaians not allow. We have allowed ourselves that the law is not working.
Okay.
You can't go there and misbehave. It is the time for us to be in our country, to support and help this government to forward this country. Nothing else. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. So it's about time we also tighten our laws and let it work. And when we are doing some negotiations now with these transactions and bilateral negotiations, we should also stand our ground.
And Harry, one thing is for sure, in the international relations setting, monkeys play by sizes.
Yeah.
When we negotiate with Togo, it's not like negotiating with the United States. So we find ourselves at a disadvantage.
In quote, bully you because they are bigger powers.
Even your oil, you can't refine your oil. You say you are an oil producing country. Crude that is not refined is, excuse me, useless fluid.
Yeah.
So if you don't invest, you import everything. Everything around this table was maybe imported. So therefore, we should be inward-looking, of course. Countries that were considered pariah states, like Cuba and Iran for so long, were inward-looking, and they were able to provide the basic necessities of their citizens, and that is the way to go. So this mantra of Ghana beyond aid, this should be a wake-up call for us to continue to strive for economic independence.
So these 7,000 Ghanaians, should they be deported? Are we ready to provide the necessary assistance? And first of all, it will be psychological needs that they will have. Then we'd have to give them something to do in terms of job.
I'm sorry, nobody, Ghana does. Even those here, how much have we been able to take good care of them? Not to talk of people who have been away for 20 years, 30 years, or 15 or 5 years. I gave you a classical example of what happened at KIA. People just touched down and they had to find their way to their villages. So therefore, no rehab, no conducive enabling environment to welcome back, assimilate them back into the It's just like our ex-convicts. The day you finish your prison sentence from Nsawam, you are just unleashed back into society.
But that is not the best way to go.
Yeah, of course it isn't. But how many times have we talked about problems and not proffered solutions to them? So therefore, this talk shop of talking about the ills within our system and doing close to zilch about resolving those problems, for me, is no longer enthusing. I believe we need to look through the crystal ball and find out what our national interests are and be able to invest heavily to achieve those interests.
All right, and this is where we leave the discussion for now, and we hope the best comes out of these deliberations and discussions. Thanks to you, Mr. Irbard Ibrahim, who is an international relations and security analyst, and thanks to you, who also contributed to this discussion very much, and we appreciate you. We'll turn our attention now to the newspaper review segment.